Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to post another video today. So I was scrolling on I was scrolling on Facebook the other day and I came across this post that caught my attention. It was a very long post. I printed it out so I could read it to you guys, but I also wanted to add my own points in between and not just read it to you. And I'll post the well, I can't post the link because it was on Facebook, but she shared other resources in the comments underneath this post and linking to other YouTube channels who have posted similar content. I'm gonna take a drink of water and I'll get back to y'all. Okay, so the post is by Anna. Let me see what her name is. Anna Fizzy. Her name is Anna Fizzy. So she posted this long post on Facebook, and I feel like I wanted to put it out there. I did ask her permission before posting this, and I will be sending her the link to this video afterwards. So it says, red flags for new models. Since new models are often most vulnerable to abuse, I've written a guide to help them identify red flags and predatory behaviors. I'm by no means saying that majority of people in the industry are dangerous, but there are significant enough presence that these things need to be kept in mind. There are several such guides around. I'll link some others in the comments, but these are things I personally observed. Please be aware that this article contains descriptions of sexually abusive behavior and may be difficult to read. 1. Asking for levels. You have clearly stated you don't do IG asking for topless shots when you've stated that you only shoot fashion. While this isn't necessarily abusive in and of itself, it should make you cautious. That person has demonstrated that they have read your levels and arbitrarily think they're an exception. If they ask and you say no, then they never ask again, then they simply may be ignorant. But if they persist, this leads to 2. So I kind of wanted to speak on that. I wasn't aware of the term levels. So when she's speaking about levels, she's talking about boundaries and pushing those boundaries. So like you set the bar here and they trying to push it all the way up here. So that is what she was referring to when she's talking about levels. And I've spoken up about this. You know, I would say what I'm doing and what I'm not doing prior to shoots, even if it wasn't brought up, anybody said anything. And I've experienced this as well. I've gone to fashion shoots and agreed to do a fashion shoot, and somewhere along the line the photographer would be like, okay, take your shirt off, and I'd be like, no. Hey, can we do topless? No. Hey, can we do nude? No. But I thought that you were okay with that. And it's like, granted, I am an artistic nude model and I am comfortable doing nude shoots, but if I didn't agree to that prior to the shoot and you thought that you could just sneak it up on me during the shoot, then you're suspect to me and I don't trust you. And you know, a lot of times fashion shoots are either not paid or they pay less than nude shoots. So if you're not paying me for that service and you just throw it in the bag and expect me to pay for it, like, I'm just not gonna go. So you know, set your boundaries prior to the shoot. Even if it's a fashion shoot, even if the person has been in the industry for years on end, even if you've heard nothing but positive reviews for them, clearly state your boundaries prior to the shoot and let them know what you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And this is very important. That way when they try and do something like this, you can say, okay, remember we talked about this? No. Alright, so going on to the next one. Level pushing. Boundary pushing, level pushing. You know, that's what she means. Level pushing is when a model is coerced, manipulated, or outright threatened into doing something they are not comfortable with. This can be a fashion model pressured into shooting nudes by a photographer who tells them their careers will never amount to anything if they don't shoot nudes, which is untrue. Or an art nude model who has opportunistic open leg shots taken when she's moving in between positions. While level pushing rarely involves any kind of physical contact, it is still sexual abuse. Your consent has been ignored for the sake of someone else's gratification. Okay, so in between, I've learned from watching photographers and other models and such that when I go on shoots and I'm doing artistic nude, I cover myself in between positions. And sometimes photographers get little attitudes with that, like, why you covering yourself? It's just me. Like, why don't you just pose? Because reasons. Because I know y'all. And I also want to speak on the fact that I don't do open leg shoots. Open leg shoots are not a part of the realms of artistic nudes. Open leg shoots go into the zone of erotic nudes, and I'm not really interested in doing erotic nudes or anything pornographic or anything. I really just like, I like nude modeling and celebrating the art of it. I don't want it to be overtly sexual. I don't like all that. And I do state prior to doing nude shoots, like, I'm not doing any open leg spreads. Sometimes I forget and people try and sneak shit up on me, and I'm just like, no thank you, I'm not doing that. And people try and like bully me into doing things, and I'll just say a firm no. They can get an attitude, they can get mad. You know, they can say, oh, you'll never work in this town again. I'll make sure of it. And I'll tell all the other photographers and fashion designers and agencies and stuff all about how difficult you are. And I don't care anymore. That's why I say, like, it's dangerous to try and be a good model. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My phone cut off in the middle of my video, so I'm just gonna try and pick up where I left off at. The third thing is monopolizing your time. If a photographer demands instant replies and constantly messages you, then you should be wary of them. They're displaying worrisome entitlement to your spare time, which you're not obligated to give them. This is one particular type of boundary pushing that I see often with new models. Friendships develop naturally. You're not someone's friend just because you shop with them once, and do not need to cater to strangers in this way. I've experienced this before. I had a photographer that would contact me late hours in the night and on holidays, or like when I was at work or whatever, and would get upset because I wasn't responding during those times. And it's like, I don't know this guy. I'm not gonna respond to his text at midnight or 1 in the morning or whatever. Like, you shouldn't be texting me at those hours if this is a professional relationship. And he would like get upset because I wasn't responding like that. And I just had multiple photographers who would message me all hours of the days and nights on holidays and weekends, or when I'm at work, or sometimes when I was in school or whatever, and then would get mad at me because I wasn't responding to them quick enough, and, you know, would go with another model. And I'm like, okay, well, bye. Like, I don't want to work with you anyways if that's how you're gonna be. And or I would be like someone that I worked with once, and then they would be like trying to hit me up all the time, and it's like, I'll be busy, I'll be doing things, and I'm just not about to entertain some random dude late at night to talk about stuff related to shoots. We can talk about things in the daytime. You don't need to be contacting me like that. So, you know, be aware of stuff like that. Okay. 4 is obsession with firsties. Some photographers have an uncomfortable obsession with being first. And, you know, they want to be the first to shoot you nude. They want to be the first to shoot you topless. They, you know, this displays a creepy attitude of ownership. There are some industries that do require new faces, like the adult industry. That's where they get most of their money from. But you should steer clear of anyone that's just excited about your newness and lack of experience, because they see you as somebody who's vulnerable and easier to manipulate. Again, you know, like, this is a tactic that human traffickers use. So, you know, just be aware of that. 5, overly personal questions. Predators like to boundary push in a subtle way at first. This way they're assessing whether you'll become a target later. This applies to all scenarios on this list, but this often is the first warning sign. They will ask things about your personal life, like asking if you were bullied at school, have a good relationship with your parents, are happy in your current relationship, etc., and other things that are none of a stranger's business. This is their way of seeing if you are vulnerable in any way so they can exploit it later. Some are more blatant and will ask you sexual questions like, are you a virgin? This is done because predators enjoy making people feel uncomfortable and seeing how they react. This is a tactic that human traffickers, aka pimps, use. And human trafficking is a huge problem within the modeling industry. It does not get talked about enough. And if somebody's showing signs like that, then you really need to run. You are in danger. Not even, oh, this could potentially become dangerous. Like, no, you're in danger, okay? You're in danger. Because they will use that information to manipulate you into doing things that you don't want to do. They will use that information to try and love bomb you, which is a tactic that abusive people use, where they just shower you with love and affection and you feel more comfortable around them. And then, they'll slowly over time, manipulate you, groom you. Grooming is a tactic that predators use. So you're in danger if somebody does this. This is predatory, okay? Touching without permission is number 6. There is no need for a photographer to physically come into your space and move you into a pose or move, sorry about the yelling in the background, or move like any hair or whatever. Like, they can just explain that to you or demonstrate that on themselves or show you a picture. They don't need to actually physically touch you. And like, it's a red flag. So if this makes you feel uncomfortable, you can say no. And if that person is constantly pushing your boundaries, you may need to leave that shoot. If somebody's touching you and you feel uncomfortable, if they're constantly in your space, if they're constantly, trying to do little slick things here and there, you really don't need to be around people like that, photographer or not. So yeah. Number 7, accidental on purpose touching. This can take the form of touching your body under the guise of removing dust or muck, pressing up against you, or adjusting your clothing. This is one of the more blatant tactics. This is an opportunity to sexually assault you by using plausible deniability or something innocent. I've experienced this in and out of the fashion industry. I've seen guys do this at crowded places. They'll like scoot by like this, and then they'll rub their genitals on you, or they'll be having their hands up in the air like this, and be groping people. And I've seen this as a tactic where guys will ask for a hug, and they will like use that hug as an excuse to let their hands wander. So this isn't just limited to the fashion industry. This can happen anywhere, and you need to be aware of that. You don't need to be around people like this. Okay, so now we're on number 8. Defending over other abusive photographers. In my experience, every single photographer I've ever seen publicly casting aspirational models who speak out against abuse has later turned out to be guilty of sexual impropriety themselves. One of their favorite tactics is to accuse you of libel or defamation. This is a silencing/threatening tactic. The best thing you can do in the situation is ignore them. Neither you nor anyone else will be sued for outing a predator. They also try and manipulate you and say if you speak out, then it's going to reflect badly against you. And people will threaten to tell other people about how difficult you are for calling them out, or even calling somebody else out. And oftentimes when they speak out, when they say things like that, they just, they're guilty themselves. So, yeah, beware of people like that. Number 9, bragging to you about the levels they've shot with other models or sexual encounters they've had with other models is often the way to try and manipulate you into shooting higher levels than you're comfortable with. They're trying to portray themselves as either so trustworthy every model should be comfortable shooting this content with them, or trying to portray themselves as highly desirable to models. This is usual complete BS, but even if it were true, they're violating the privacy of other models by discussing the private matters to you. This demonstrates they have no respect for you or other models and questions. This goes doubly if they show you images from shoots that were supposed to be private. I've experienced things like this where a photographer will ask to shoot with me and I'll agree to work with them, and they'll try and throw something out of the left field. Like, hey, let's do topless, let's do nude. And I'll be like, no, we didn't discuss that prior to shoot. They'll be like, well, other models agree to do this. Well, usually when I shoot with models, they do this, they do that, and we do this, and we do that, and we have fun. And try and create this kind of FOMO, like you missing out on something by not agreeing to work with them. And it's nonsense. Don't work with people like that. And I've heard photographers brag about manipulating models into shooting nudes by lying to them, telling them this is what you have to do in the industry if you want to succeed, and that's not true. 10. Presenting themselves as an authority or expert on modeling. The best people to give you modeling advice are other, more experienced models. In the same way, I'm not qualified to give someone advice on how to be a good photographer. My ability to do that is limited. They only have a certain range when it comes to giving you advice, and a lot of times when it's unsolicited advice, it's things that are not helpful to you at all and will get you in trouble in the long run. Or they'll just use that as a way to try and manipulate you into shooting something that you're not interested in shooting. So, be aware of that. Number 10. Presenting themselves as an authority or expert on modeling. Oh, okay, I just read that one, my bad. 11. Bullying or belittlement. People are more vulnerable to abuse when their self-esteem is low. Because of this tactic, often employed by abusers, is to make them feel bad about themselves. A photographer doing this may tell you that you're too fat, too thin, need to exercise more, need a nose job, a boob job, etc. Not only is this behavior abusive in its own right, but it's often a prelude to sexual abuse. A photographer employing this tactic may suggest a model shoots nude to improve her body confidence after undermining that confidence. This is the tactic of abusers. This is the tactic of predators. This is the tactic of random guys that you meet on the internet. This is the tactic of mutual friends. It's a tactic. So, just know that people who do this are especially crappy, especially because this ties into that underpoint that I brought up about how they'll ask you if you were abused, if you have a good relationship with her, if you're family or something, and then later on they'll bully you on those things. Sometimes they'll flat out send you ads for plastic surgeons, or just say, I know a guy, or they'll offer you diet pills or something. So, just beware of people like that and stay away from them. Diet pills are dangerous, by the way, so, yeah. Okay, so I think this is where I left off. I'll touch base on this in the other video. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't know where this video cut off at, but yeah, I was experiencing this, where people would try and fat shame me, and I was so skinny. So yeah, you need to be careful about that. 12. Inappropriate comments designed as banter. This often goes hand in hand with the above. This may pass off compliments such as the above as jokes, falsely affectionately calling the model fatty. This is only appropriate for people who have close personal bond with who they have earned the right to take that kind of intimacy and who know you won't actually be upset by it. They may also try to turn conversation sexual by discussing it as a funny personal antidote, or by turning on charm offensive to get away with talking to you in a manner you wouldn't normally accept. Not all incidences or poor taste jokes are examples of this, obviously, but it's something you should be aware of. And I have experienced this multiple times, and pass it off as photographers being weird, or I would just laugh nervously and try and get on with the shoot. But yeah, if someone it just goes hand in hand to like different ways people can make you feel uncomfortable and what you need to be aware of. 14. They have worked with many models but have few references. It isn't always this case, but this may indicate that models have worked with them but don't recommend them. In all cases, even when someone has hundreds of seemingly positive references, the most trustworthy way of checking references is to speak to models they've worked with, directly and in private. Ask them for a truthful account of their shoot with the photographer and whether they would recommend that you work with them. Also, I want to add that some photographers don't tag or credit the models that they've worked with, and it could be a sign that because they don't want models to be able to check references, it's also a sign that they feel like they're more important than the model, where they feel like they don't even need to credit you. So that's also, a red flag that you need to stay away from. And the last bit is just saying, I'm not writing this to scare or discourage anyone from getting into the industry. There are many positive things about it, but because of the nature of the work, it can be riskier than other professions or hobbies. And as always, if you're unsure of someone's behavior for any reason, do not work with them. No amount of money, no photo, no matter how good it may be, it's worth risking your personal safety. And that is true. Okay. So I asked her if she would mind me sharing this. And I just commented, we figure out where. I also wanted to add, beware photographers that don't credit models on their portfolio. They may feel like they're more important than models and or treat them horrible, so those models wouldn't give them a good review, and want to prevent other models from being able to check references. If you're a new model of any kind and don't want to do full vacuum shots, take and sew before the shoot, cover yourself in between takes, and don't be afraid to break a pose and move away if someone makes you feel uncomfortable. Don't do shoots that aren't mutually beneficial. I've shared similar stories on YouTube and blogs and other helpful information and such, and I asked Anna if it was okay if I shared this in a YouTube video, and I just want to say, there are so many different manipulation tactics out there, and these things are not limited to just models.